Here we go. January 14th, 2026. My first video of the new year. I welcome you all to a happy new year. Well, this is a happy new year indeed today. Things are starting to move in the oil markets. Wow. It's incredible. What's been going on lately? Well, Trump invaded Venezuela, a sovereign nation, and removed dictator-in-chief Maduro, and is somehow arranging all of these oil deals to go into Venezuela. He's trying to get all the major oil companies to invest into Venezuela because he's now provided these oil majors with tons of resources in the ground. Good job, Trump. However, you never got it authorized by Congress, so it's unconstitutional and it's illegal. But all presidents do this. It's not just Trump. It's Bush and Obama and Reagan, going all the way back to Reagan with Noriega in Panama. I mean, they don't get congressional approval anymore. They just run the country like a dictatorship. And I guess the American people in Congress is okay with that. Wonderful, wonderful. So, in addition to that, that kind of created a little bit of volatility in the oil price. Not to mention, the next on the agenda, and I think of the Trump administration, is to go after the leadership in Iran and to remove them. They've been emboldened after taking out Maduro, so now they want to go after the Shah of Iran too, to get rid of that guy, which is causing some more volatility in the oil price because Iran is a bigger player. I believe Venezuela was in disarray. They hadn't made the capital-sustaining investments over the years. Their infrastructure's fallen apart. It's a third world nation run by a bunch of communist dictators. So Venezuela is in bad shape. However, Iran, on the other hand, is in pretty good shape. So it'd be a big win for Trump to grab Iran to snatch that one up. In addition to all this that's going on, and today I'm just going to talk about oil. I'm not going to mention gold and silver that much, although gold and silver are just exploding to the upside because they see, as I've been telling you all along, that the inflation in the U.S. is much, much worse, and Donald Trump's profligate spending is not going to end anytime soon. He's going to get rid of the Federal Reserve Chairman, who's somewhat conservative in interest rate policy, and is going to install his crazy, crazy, crazy money-spending lunatic in place of him. So it's one of those things where they're playing this good cop, bad cop role between the Federal Reserve and Trump. Trump's the bad cop. The Federal Reserve is the good cop. But ultimately, the end game is to print more and more money, to print trillions of currency units, to embolden and empower the Federal Reserve and empower the U.S. government simultaneously. This is the partnership they have. But going back to, so that's why gold and silver are just exploding to the upside, because they can see all this. They see the gold markets are sniffing out the fact that much, much more inflation is coming. And so this is what's happening in that front. But the oil front is much more interesting to me because the glut narrative is kind of starting to fall apart. You know, there's a glut out there, no doubt. But Wall Street needs to be forward-looking in the fact that they have to prepare in the future for what's to come. Now, currently there's a glut, 2026, early 2026. But a lot of analysts are forecasting the glut to subside and actually go away completely by the end of 2027, 2028. So if you're an investor, if you're an oil investor out there and you want to sustain this current production, you have to make capital-sustaining investments, which the industry is not doing. So once Wall Street figures this out, I think they're going to bid the oil price up in anticipation for the glut being removed by the end of 2027, 2028, 2029. So we have to make capital investments now in order to thwart off what's coming in the future. So I believe the oil price, in anticipation for this possible glut narrative dissolving into nothing, is going to start creeping up. Not dramatically, but creeping up nonetheless. I think we'll see upper 60s, low 70s WTI and Brent crude coming pretty soon to a theater near you. And this is helping to boost ExxonMobil stock, which I have a lot of call options in right now, and I'm considering on selling them because it's almost become a mania. But I think there's still a little more time to play out as far as the mania in ExxonMobil. ExxonMobil is the best oil company on earth. I mean, they have the greatest balance sheet. They're the best capital allocators. They do all the right moves, and I think their share price is going much higher. Now, that's why I have the call option position. But the share price went from 118 last I spoke with you guys to 129. It's made a wonderful move, which could come off. And since I have call options that expire a year out, I mean, you have to take the gains at some point. You can't just keep allowing the game to run, because when it comes to options, you have a time limit. So the time limit is money, is time value of money. It's got a time value to it. So as all of these months erode, so does the call option. So right now is actually a good time to sell the call option. But I believe, and I'm getting greedy here, I believe there's some more upside to ExxonMobil. And I also believe that we could see oil shocks. And let me tell you why we could see oil shocks. Trump, going back to the geopolitical issues, Trump has cut off China and Russia's oil supply from Venezuela. Because what Venezuela was doing is they had shadow tankers shipping oil from Venezuela to China and Russia. Now Trump has taken that card away. Okay, so he's taken that little chip away from China and Russia. And so that is going to choke off China and Russia to some extent, as far as the flow of their oil production, the ebbs and flows of everything. And so China is directly affected by the Venezuelan capture by Trump. That hurts China. Trump is going after China. Trump doesn't like China's domineerance in the global scene. He doesn't like that. He wants to be the kingpin. The U.S. is the kingpin, not some up-and-coming rising superpower like China. So he's kind of blustering out there. He's emboldened to keep his king of the hill, so to speak, position. So not only has Trump gone after Venezuela, which is kind of a pipeline to China, he's going after Iran, which is another pipeline to China. Another big pipeline. And Russia, I don't know all the geopolitical strategies of all this. There's other analysts out there that are much, much better at this than I am. But I believe Russia, Iran, China, Venezuela is all kind of a circular thing there. They got their deals going on with each other. And Trump is going after these right now. So I came up with this little scheme when I AI'd it on Grok and was asking Grok a bunch of questions about it, as far as the similarities, the eerie similarities of the World War II Pearl Harbor incident, which, if anybody knows what happened back before Pearl Harbor, just before Pearl Harbor, the U.S. choked off the oil supply to Japan. They were starving Japan out of vital energy resources in the South Asian Sea. They were blockading a lot of the tankers that were going into Japan, because they felt like Japan was misbehaving, and they were misbehaving. So the U.S. went in there, and they thwarted it, and they blocked it, and they were starving Japan of oil, which was the lifeblood of any economy, still is to this day. So what Japan did in retaliation was they sent their fleet over to Pearl Harbor, and the rest is history. They blew the smithereens out of Pearl Harbor, and then FDR got us into the war at that point, and the whole thing escalated to a big, giant shit show of death and destruction and mayhem. Well, fast forward today, 80 years later, 85 years later, and it's the same damn thing. It's the same playbook. So Trump is choking China and Russia and Iran and Venezuela. So what does China and Russia do to retaliate? Is anybody's question. But my guess is they will retaliate, and they will likewise use their proxies to probably bomb tankers in the Middle East that are going to the U.S. a tit for tat, if you would. And why wouldn't they? They just got screwed. Why would they not do that? You know, they're getting choked. Their empire, the Chinese empire, just got choked of vital nutrients. And you don't think they're going to retaliate in some way, shape, or form? You think they're just going to back down and say, yes, Mr. Trump, yes, Mr. Trump? Well, that's Mr. Trump is hoping they do. But either they exert their thirst to become a superpower now, or they just roll over like a whipped dog and go into oblivion. I mean, Trump is basically challenging them right now. So what are they going to do? It's basically, I'm going to bully you, and either you're going to retaliate or you're going to go back into your hole and be a little coward. And that's what Trump is doing. So, looking at the oil markets, what does this do for the oil markets? Well, this could cause an enormous amount of volatility. And you could see this glut narrative disappear overnight with the potential for supply disruptions all over the world. I just saw an article come out today on Twitter where somebody posted that the U.S. shale industry is in decline. The EIA just put a chart out showing the graph of the U.S. shale industry going up over the years, peaking and going back down, and it's somewhere around here. It's going down. It's going down. So the U.S. shale industry has already peaked. It's in the decline. They can't make money at $60 per barrel. They need higher oil price to incentivize more production to keep the shale industry going. So they need higher oil prices. Okay? Everybody needs higher oil prices to sustain the production. And higher oil prices will mitigate some of the tit-for-tat little displays of power in the Middle East and dominance over the oil industry. This will happen. This is going to happen. So oil could go much, much higher. It could go much, much higher in the coming months because of the volatile geopolitical risks associated with Trump's actions and the potential for counter reactions from China. This is good for oil. This is good for the price of oil. And companies, great, wonderful companies like Exxon could do very, very well. So I am going to continue to hold my call options on Exxon Mobil, even though I'm up. I can walk away today after all my taxes paid out the door. I could walk away with probably $17,000 in my pocket. And that's a very tempting proposition considering my financial position. 17 grand of free money is nice money, I can reinvest that 17 grand into a nice dividend paying company like Blackstone Minerals, which is also in the oil industry, and I can earn 8.5% on the 17K. So I'm tempted to sell my call options on ExxonMobil, but I think I'm going to hold them a little longer just to see what happens. I'm willing to risk $5,000 to $6,000 to $7,000 off the value of those call options just to see what happens in the next couple of weeks, because I think this is escalating. I don't think this is going down. This is not de-escalating. I think you got Trump in here taking out Venezuela, going after Iran, and another news story headline today was some drone attacks in the Black Sea where they blew up a couple oil tankers. So things are heating up. Things are heating up, particularly in the oil industry. And I think we're going to see much, much higher oil prices. So if you want to invest in oil right now, now's the time to do so. Like I said, gold and silver are also in enormous bull markets. I mean, you have all this profligate spending. You have the desire for Trump to put in some thrift, some crazy Federal Reserve chairman who's going to print trillions in currency units to stimulate the economy. You got all of these things working, and you got oil prices are going up because of the geopolitical risks and the investment for the future. You got the fact that gold and silver are gold's almost $5,000. Think about that for a second. Gold was like $2,000 last time this year. Now it's 5. In less than a year, it's gone up to 5K. Silver was like $28, $30, and now it's pushing 100. I mean, this is insane. And at the speed of which these things are going up in value is crazy. But we are totally in the end game of something in the U.S. The dollar is doomed. I mean, it's going to take a 70% haircut in the next 5 years. So that's a guarantee. So you want to be in these hard assets, but you have to remember these hard assets can correct big time. In the midst of the bull market, they can also correct 30, 40, 50% and then resume their upward trajectories. So this is all going to occur during this commodity super cycle. The dollar is going to drop in value. The dollar is going to increase in value. Gold is going to drop in value. Gold is going to resume going back up in value. It's just what's going to happen. But my main concern right now is oil. Something is going on in the oil markets, and I think this is the card that Trump is using to regain American dominance in the world. It is oil, which is the lifeblood of the economy. And this is what he's going after. And you can rest assured that Russia and China and Iran and all of these other axis of evil countries are going to get into the game of oil dominance. So, what more to say? Happy New Year. Glad we could reconnect. Have a nice day.